Titania, I'd really like to know, how was it that you came to record these tracks in the first place? Was it something you'd been dreaming of?
Originally, I was thinking of recording just covers. I went to the Blues Festival at Goulburn. In fact, what had happened was I was coming from Melbourne up past Goulburn, and we met a hitchhiker. So my travelling companion, friend, and I stopped and picked him up. He was extremely exhausted coming home from work, and he was so grateful that we'd stopped and picked him up that he offered for us to have a meal and a shower and a drink, and then said, why don't you stay for the weekend? The Blues Festival is happening this weekend. And I said, well, I was actually looking at going and busking. He said, oh no, stay and busk here for the weekend. And his landlady chimed in and said, yeah, there's no problems. In fact, you can have my spare room to sleep in, which was so gorgeous. She had candles and everything in there for us at night. We were very busy all weekend, met up with all sorts of musicians there. But anyway, I was busking on the streets, and this lovely Asian woman came along. In fact, I was playing a song that will be featured further into the CD called The Heart of the Traveller, which of course has also become the name of the album. Anyway, she loved it because it's in a Chinese scale, and so she then got her husband Paris MacLeod to come along and listen, and he enjoyed it immensely. And this lady and one of her other good friends got together and asked for many musicians from that weekend to have a jam with me. The very last night of the Blues Festival, which we did from 12 o'clock in the morning to 5:30. But we were so exhausted. We all sort of piled into bed or laid where we were with our guitars and whatever in our hand. My friend and I actually made it back home where we were staying, and we're up again. We were meant to be up by 7 o'clock. Well, we only got there at 7:30. But we managed to meet Paris, and Paris said to us that he would like me to come along and record, and he wanted me to do originals. And I was stumped because I was only ever thinking of recording covers.
So, how long after the Blues Festival, back in 2007, which is a while back, did you decide to go ahead with this album?
It was around about 2010. I went away for about 3 years because, as I said, I had never made my own originals. So I had to really think about things. I'm a guitarist, and my travelling friend is actually a djembe player. So I thought perhaps we could go together to the studio with something that we had composed between the three of us. Well, it didn't turn out to be what was meant to happen. So we went in, we did do a recording, but it wasn't very good. Anyway, my guitarist friend went home, and Paris asked myself and my djembe friend to stay. So we did, and he set me up to record in the studio, just anything that came to mind, whilst he went off to play a round of golf with my friend. I was there for about half an hour. Paris came back, and we all sat in the studio and listened to it. And Paris said to me, well, I'm going to give you a recording of this, and out of that you will find that there are lots of parts of this that you can use to turn into full pieces. Go away, play with it, and come back with something decent. And so he gave me a full year. Another one of my tracks came out of that, which is also later in the album. And I only had 4 of my originals written in that next year, but that was when we started recording.
So putting this album out is much about empowerment as it is the music.
Yes, well, as I said, I felt like I needed to go to the studio with other people surrounding me. When everything went sort of awry with this guitarist, I realised I needed to stand on my own. I guess what it was that I was extremely afraid, and I didn't know. Sometimes when you want to go through a dream and you want to see it through to the end, you actually need to do it afraid and stay the course. And so this was a huge learning curve for me. That was part of the self-empowerment. Part of it also was learning that I really am a soloist in my own right, and that I have beautiful music to give to the world, and that people appreciate it, and I don't need other people to hold me up.
Why not just all original pieces? What made you choose to include covers alongside your own work, which in its own right is very good?
Originally, I'd been asked by people all the way through the east coast of Australia, from Tasmania through to Gladstone, to record some of my most loved pieces that they'd heard me playing as I was busking. So that was the main aim of me getting a recording contract at all. I had actually only started writing them after Paris encouraged me to go out on my own, away from this other guitarist and my djembe player friend. And once I started writing my own originals, they went on to the CD. Now, I only did 4 of them in the first year. And in fact, even as I was in the studio, I was already writing other pieces to go on the album, which we finished the year afterward.
Not an easy task writing an album, is it?
Oh, certainly not, no.
Now, let's talk about Storyteller. Is this piece based on a collage of experiences from people you've met on your travels, or is it about someone in particular?
It's actually about my engineer and producer, Paris MacLeod. So what actually happened was I was sitting in the studio at a time when no one was there, playing on my mandolin, and I was actually composing one of my new pieces when he came in. He was actually working on some of his own music at the time. He was getting things ready to give to his own band because he was looking at doing a few travelling shows. So what happened was, as I was listening to him, some ideas came to me. And I realised that every musician has their own story to tell. So I didn't write about Paris as the producer or as the engineer. I wrote about Paris as the musician, telling his own story through his own pieces. And that's how the Storyteller was born.